There are moments in history when pride is shattered, when a nation's spirit is tested, and the world watches quietly. That night, the pride of a powerful nation was broken, not just on the battlefield, but in the hearts of its people. The silence from the world was deafening. When pride is crushed, it is not the end. It is the beginning of a new chapter, because pride is fragile, but resilience is not. When the world turns its gaze away, the true strength is found in those who refuse to be defeated in silence. You see, silence does not mean weakness. It often means the world is waiting, watching, learning, waiting to see who will rise from the ashes and forge a path forward. Pride may be wounded, but spirit, that eternal fire, cannot be extinguished by any force. It is in these moments of trial that courage is born. When humiliation tries to break the backbone, determination steals it. When isolation threatens to suffocate hope, the human spirit screams louder than any silence. So, what happens when pride is crushed and the world stays silent? The answer is this: those who fall are forced to look inward, to rebuild from their core, to come back stronger than ever before. Because history is not written by those who crumble, but by those who rise. Remember, true strength is not in how loud you shout your victory, but in how fiercely you hold your dignity when the world looks away. When pride is crushed and silence reigns, that is when the real battle begins. Pride is a powerful force. It's the sense of self, worth and honor that drives individuals and nations alike. But pride is delicate like fine glass. It can shatter under pressure. When pride is broken, it leaves behind a wound, a deep ache that can consume a person or a people. Yet, in that very breaking lies the seed of something far greater: resilience. Resilience is the strength that not only survives but flourishes in the aftermath of loss. It is the unyielding spirit that rises from the ashes, tempered and hardened by hardship. When pride is bruised or shattered, it is often accompanied by feelings of shame, failure, or humiliation. This pain is immediate and raw. The instinct may be to hide, to retreat from the world, or even to surrender to despair. But resilience calls us to stand firm, to embrace the discomfort, and to transform it into fuel for growth. Resilience does not deny the pain, it acknowledges it and chooses to rise anyway. It understands that setbacks are not the end, but part of the journey towards something greater. In the wake of a shattered pride, resilience becomes the foundation upon which recovery is built. It is not a fleeting emotion, but a cultivated strength. Every time one faces hardship and chooses to push forward rather than fall apart, resilience is reinforced. This inner strength is built through experience, reflection, and determination. It is the quiet voice within that says, "This is not how the story ends." The contrast between pride and resilience is stark. Pride can be inflated by success and achievements, but it can also be deflated by failure. Resilience, on the other hand, is less about external validation and more about internal fortitude. While pride depends on recognition and accomplishment, resilience depends on character and persistence. It is an unshakable resolve that remains steadfast regardless of circumstances. In moments when pride is broken, whether through personal loss, public failure, or collective defeat, resilience serves as the bridge from despair to hope. It transforms the narrative from one of victimhood to one of empowerment. Instead of being defined by the brokenness, resilient individuals or communities are defined by their ability to rebuild, to learn, and to adapt. This process is neither quick nor easy. It demands patience, courage, and relentless effort. Resilience also teaches humility. When pride is stripped away, the ego is humbled, and one is forced to confront vulnerability. This vulnerability, though uncomfortable, opens the door to growth. It encourages introspection and the reevaluation of values and goals. Through this, resilience fosters a deeper understanding of self and purpose. It reminds us that true strength is not about never falling, but about rising every time we do. History is filled with examples of resilience triumphing over broken pride. Nations that have faced humiliation and defeat have rebuilt stronger than before. Individuals who have been knocked down by life's challenges have returned with renewed vigor and determination. This resilience becomes a defining characteristic, a legacy that outlasts the moment of broken pride. Moreover, resilience is contagious. Witnessing someone or a community bounce back from adversity inspires others to do the same. It creates a ripple effect of courage and strength that transcends the initial wound. Resilience, in this way, becomes a collective force, uniting people through shared experience and hope. Ultimately, pride may be fragile, but resilience endures. While pride can be shattered in an instant, resilience is forged over time. It is the result of facing adversity head on, learning from it, and choosing to move forward. Resilience is the quiet power that transforms broken pride into a stepping stone for greater achievement. It is a reminder that while we may stumble and fall, we are never truly defeated unless we refuse to rise again. Silence is often misunderstood. In a world that constantly demands noise, action, and reaction, silence can be mistaken for weakness or defeat. When the world goes quiet in the face of a crisis or conflict, many assume that it signals surrender or abandonment, but silence is far more complex and powerful than that. It is not always the sound of giving up. Sometimes it is the sound of a deeper process unfolding, a process of reflection, recalibration, and quiet strength building beneath the surface. When the world stays silent, it creates a space where rushing judgments and impulsive responses are held at bay. This silence allows room for introspection and clarity. In the absence of constant noise and distraction, individuals and nations alike can pause to ask the difficult questions. What went wrong? What lessons must be learned? How do we move forward with wisdom instead of anger? This kind of silence is not passive. It is an active, deliberate stillness that fosters growth and understanding. The power of silence lies in its ability to calm the chaos, to slow the momentum that often leads to rash decisions. In moments of crisis or failure, silence can act as a protective shield, giving time for wounds to heal and for emotions to settle. Without this pause, the natural human instinct might be to react with haste, often making mistakes that compound the problem. Silence offers the chance to step back, regain composure, and approach the situation with a clearer mind and a steadier heart. Silence also encourages humility. When faced with adversity and the world's quiet gaze, pride and ego are challenged. The silence forces a confrontation with vulnerability and imperfection. This confrontation, though difficult, can lead to profound personal and collective growth. It strips away the distractions of ego and external validation, compelling one to look inward and find strength beyond the applause or condemnation of others. In this space, resilience is born, not from external noise, but from an internal resolve to learn and evolve. Furthermore, silence can be a form of resistance and preparation. It is not always a sign of weakness, but sometimes a strategic choice. The world may stay silent not because it is indifferent, but because it is watching carefully, assessing the situation, and preparing for what comes next. This quiet watchfulness can be a powerful force, signaling that the story is far from over. It can unsettle opponents who expect immediate reactions, and it can strengthen the resolve of those who use the silence to strategize and rebuild. In relationships and conflicts, silence can carry messages that words cannot. It can be a space where true intentions and emotions are revealed, not through what is said, but through what is held back. This kind of silence demands patience and attentiveness from all involved. It invites deep listening and understanding, fostering empathy and connection in ways that hurried conversations often miss. At the same time, Silence is a reminder that not all battles are won with noise and spectacle. Some victories are quiet, internal, and unseen. The strength that comes from silence is subtle but enduring. It is the foundation upon which long-term growth is built. While the world may expect immediate responses and visible signs of strength, true power often grows in the quiet moments of reflection and resilience. History teaches us that silence often precedes transformation. Moments of apparent stillness have given rise to profound changes in individuals and societies. It is in the silent depths of struggle and reflection that new visions are born and new paths are charted. Silence is not the absence of action, but the space from which meaningful action arises. The power of silence also challenges us to redefine our understanding of strength. In a culture that values loudness and constant activity, choosing silence takes courage. It requires trust that this quiet period is not wasted time, but an essential part of the journey. It calls on us to resist the urge to fill every moment with noise and instead embrace the richness of stillness. When the world stays silent, it is not the end of the story, but a crucial chapter in it. This silence invites patience, wisdom, and resilience. It teaches us that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in shouting louder, but in listening deeper and growing stronger from within. Silence holds the power to transform defeat into opportunity, chaos into calm, and despair into hope. It is a profound force that, when embraced, can lead to true and lasting growth. Courage is often misunderstood as the absence of fear, but true courage is born not in comfort or ease, but in the depths of adversity. It is in the face of humiliation, loss, and failure that real bravery takes shape. When everything seems to be falling apart and the world appears to be against us, that is when courage is tested and refined. Adversity strips away pretense and reveals the core of who we are. It forces us to confront our fears, vulnerabilities, and doubts, and to choose to move forward anyway. When someone experiences humiliation, it feels like a blow to the very essence of their identity. Pride and self-worth can be bruised or shattered. The sting of public failure or rejection is deeply painful because it exposes our humanity in the harshest light. But within that painful exposure lies an opportunity. The moment we decide not to be defined by the humiliation, but instead by our response to it, courage begins to awaken. This courage is not loud or boastful. It is quiet and persistent, a steady heartbeat in the chaos of despair. Loss, too, is a profound teacher of courage. Whether it's the loss of a dream, a relationship, or a sense of security, loss demands resilience. It forces us to grieve and feel the full weight of what has been taken away. Yet, in that grieving process, courage grows. It is the courage to face the emptiness, to sit with pain without running away, and to trust that life will still hold meaning beyond the loss. This form of courage is often unseen and unrecognized because it happens internally as a battle between hope and despair. Adversity pushes us beyond our comfort zones and compels us to develop new strength. When confronted with failure, many choose to retreat or give up, but those who find courage in adversity understand that failure is not final, it is a stepping stone. Each setback teaches something vital about strategy, character, or endurance. Courage is born in the decision to get up again, even when the body and mind scream to stay down. It is that refusal to surrender that separates the courageous from the defeated. Moreover, the birth of courage in adversity transforms how we see ourselves. When we overcome hardship, we gain a new sense of self-respect and confidence. We realize that we are stronger and more capable than we ever imagined. This transformation is empowering because it comes from lived experience, not from external validation. True courage arises from within, grounded in the knowledge that no matter how hard life hits, we have the capacity to stand back up. Facing adversity also builds empathy and compassion. When we endure humiliation or loss, we become more aware of the struggles others face. This awareness deepens our humanity and connects us to the broader human experience. Courage born from hardship often carries a sense of responsibility to lift others up, to lead by example, and to use our strength for the greater good. It turns personal trials into sources of inspiration and hope for others walking difficult paths. Courage in adversity is not about reckless bravery or ignoring danger. It is a deliberate choice to confront reality with honesty and integrity. It means acknowledging fear and pain without letting them dictate our actions. This kind of courage requires vulnerability, humility, and faith in ourselves, in the process of growth, and sometimes in something greater than ourselves. History and stories of great leaders, artists, and thinkers are filled with examples of courage born from adversity. These individuals did not escape hardship. They embraced it as part of their journey. Their courage was forged in the fires of challenge, and that courage fueled their achievements and legacies. What sets them apart is not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of a resolute spirit that refuses to be broken. In our own lives, courage emerges each time we face rejection, criticism, or failure and decide to keep moving forward. It is found in the everyday moments when we choose to be honest, to speak up, or to pursue our dreams despite doubt and fear. Adversity strips away illusions and exposes the raw truth of who we are, and in that truth, courage is born, not as an abstract ideal, but as a living, breathing force that carries us through the darkest nights. True courage is the triumph of the human spirit over the challenges that seek to diminish it. It is the birthright of anyone who dares to face adversity head on and refuses to be defeated by it. In the crucible of hardship, courage grows, not in spite of our pain, but because of it. Falling is an inevitable part of life. No matter how prepared or determined we are, setbacks, failures, and disappointments will come. These moments can feel devastating, like the ground beneath us has disappeared, leaving us to face uncertainty and pain. Yet, falling is not the end. What truly matters is how we respond, how we rise after the fall. Rising stronger is not about pretending the fall didn't happen or rushing past the pain. It requires a deep and honest look inward. It demands that we rebuild core strength from within, a strength rooted in self-awareness, resilience, and purpose. When we fall, it often shakes our confidence and distorts our sense of self. We might feel broken, lost, or unworthy. The outer world may have been unkind, but the real work begins inside. It is in this inner space where true healing and rebuilding take place. Instead of focusing on the external circumstances or blaming others, the focus turns inward. What can be learned? What parts of ourselves were fragile and need strengthening? What beliefs or habits contributed to the fall? This inward reflection is not easy, but it is essential. Rebuilding from within starts with acceptance. Accepting that falling is part of the human experience opens the door to growth. It releases the burden of perfectionism and the fear of failure. When we accept our vulnerabilities, we stop fighting ourselves and start listening. We begin to understand that setbacks are not punishments, but signals, opportunities to pause, reassess, and recalibrate. This mindset shift is the foundation for true strength because it replaces self-judgment with curiosity and compassion. Once acceptance takes root, the next step is self-awareness. This means examining our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors with honesty. It requires peeling back the layers of denial and distraction to see what is really going on inside. Self-awareness reveals patterns that might have contributed to the fall, whether it's fear of failure, procrastination, or unhealthy relationships. It also uncovers our core values and strengths, that can be harnessed in the rebuilding process. This clarity helps us set meaningful goals aligned with who we truly are, rather than chasing external approval or temporary fixes. Rebuilding core strength also involves cultivating resilience, the ability to bounce back and keep moving forward despite difficulty. Resilience is not something we are simply born with. It is developed through experience and intentional practice. It grows when we face challenges head on, learn from mistakes, and refuse to give up. Small, consistent actions, like establishing healthy routines, seeking support, and practicing self-care, build resilience over time. These actions reinforce the belief that we have the capacity to overcome, no matter how many times we fall. Another vital part of rebuilding is nurturing hope. Hope is the belief that the future holds possibility, that change is possible, and that our efforts matter. When we fall, it's easy to lose sight of hope and become overwhelmed by despair. But hope acts as a guiding light, helping us focus on what can be, rather than what has been lost. It fuels motivation and perseverance, encouraging us to take the next step, even when the path is unclear. Rebuilding from within is also a process of reclaiming our power. Falling can leave us feeling powerless and at the mercy of circumstances. However, when we turn inward and invest in our growth, we reclaim control over our narrative. We realize that while we cannot always control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. This empowerment transforms us from victims of circumstance into architects of our own destiny. This process is rarely linear. There will be moments of progress and moments of doubt, times when old fears resurface or when the pain feels too great to bear. But each time we recommit to rebuilding from within, we strengthen the foundation beneath us. Over time, this foundation becomes unshakable, supporting not just recovery but transformation. We don't just return to where we were before the fall. We become stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever. Ultimately, rebuilding from within is a journey of self-discovery and renewal. It calls us to move beyond surface-level fixes and cultivate deep, lasting change. By embracing the inevitable falls and choosing to rise with intention and courage, we tap into a wellspring of inner strength that can carry us through any storm. This inner strength is the true measure of resilience and the source of all meaningful growth. Dignity is a quiet, steadfast force that often goes unnoticed because it doesn't demand attention or applause. It is the inner sense of worth and self-respect that remains intact even when external circumstances try to diminish it. Holding on to dignity, especially in moments of silence, is one of the most profound forms of strength a person can exhibit. This strength is not loud or aggressive. It is calm, composed, and deeply rooted in self-awareness and integrity. When the world is silent, when judgment or misunderstanding surrounds us, maintaining dignity becomes an act of courage and resilience that speaks louder than any words ever could. In times of hardship or defeat, the temptation is often to react impulsively, to lash out, defend, or seek validation. These reactions, while understandable, can sometimes erode dignity rather than preserve it. True strength lies in resisting these urges and choosing instead to remain poised and grounded. It is in these moments of silence, when we neither retaliate nor shrink away, that dignity shines brightest. Holding on to dignity means recognizing our own value regardless of external validation or criticism. It is a refusal to let circumstances or the opinions of others define who we are. Silence, in this context, is not emptiness but a powerful space for reflection and control. When we hold our dignity in silence, we are exercising mastery over our emotions and responses. We are choosing not to give power to negativity or conflict by engaging in destructive behavior. Instead, we allow silence to protect our inner peace and maintain our self-respect. This restraint takes tremendous strength because it requires patience, self-discipline, and an unshakable belief in one's worth. Holding on to dignity is especially important in situations where the world turns its back or remains indifferent. When faced with isolation or injustice, it is easy to feel invisible or insignificant. Yet, maintaining dignity in those silent moments affirms that we are more than the sum of external judgments. It declares that our identity and value are not contingent on others' recognition, but stem from an unbreakable core of self-respect. This quiet strength becomes a beacon, not only to ourselves, but to others who witness it. It inspires respect, even when words fail to persuade. Dignity carried in silence is also an act of defiance against despair and hopelessness. It says, "I will not be broken by what has happened to me." It transforms vulnerability into empowerment, showing that strength is not always about loud victories, but often about quiet endurance. This endurance can sustain us through the darkest times, reminding us that while circumstances may be beyond our control, our dignity is always within our grasp. Furthermore, this form of strength nurtures empathy and humility. When we hold dignity silently, we acknowledge our shared human experience of struggle and pain without needing to broadcast our trials. It fosters a connection to others through unspoken understanding rather than competitive display. This humility enriches our relationships and deepens our sense of community, reminding us that dignity is not about superiority, but about honoring the humanity in ourselves and others. In the broader sense, holding on to dignity in silence challenges societal norms that equate strength with aggression or dominance. It redefines strength as self-respect, patience, and moral courage. This shift is crucial because it encourages a more compassionate and sustainable way of living, one where individuals do not need to prove their worth through conflict or noise, but can stand firm in their values quietly and confidently. The strength found in dignity also protects mental and emotional well-being. By preserving self-respect, we guard against the corrosive effects of shame, guilt, and resentment. This protection allows us to heal, grow, and maintain a positive outlook even when external circumstances are harsh. It builds a foundation of inner stability that supports us in all areas of life. Ultimately, holding on to dignity in silence is a profound testament to the resilience of the human spirit. It requires a deep understanding of one's worth and an unwavering commitment to uphold it, regardless of what the world says or does. This strength is not about winning battles with noise or force, but about winning the greater battle within, maintaining peace, respect, and integrity no matter the storm. In this quiet, powerful way, dignity becomes one of the most enduring and inspiring forms of strength anyone can possess. Defeat is often seen as the end, the point where hope fades and dreams crumble. It feels like a final judgment, a moment that defines failure and signals that efforts have been wasted. Yet, the real battle does not end with defeat. In fact, it often begins there. True victory is not measured by the absence of hardship, but by what comes after it. It is forged in the crucible of endurance, determination, and the refusal to give up even when everything seems lost. The moment of defeat is not a final destination, but a crucial turning point where the true strength of a person or a people is tested and revealed. When faced with defeat, the natural response is often despair, discouragement, or even surrender. The weight of failure can be crushing, and the temptation to quit can be overwhelming. But those who achieve lasting success understand that defeat is not a verdict. It is an invitation. It invites us to reassess, to learn, and to summon the courage to continue despite the odds. This is where the real battle begins, not in the initial fight, but in the aftermath, when resilience is required to rise again and fight with renewed vigor. Enduring hardship after defeat requires a mindset that sees beyond the immediate pain. It demands a vision that stretches past the current setback toward a future where victory is still possible. This vision is fueled by hope and anchored in the belief that failure is not permanent. Without this belief, the struggle that follows defeat can seem futile. But with it, every challenge becomes a stepping stone, every obstacle a lesson, and every setback an opportunity for growth. Refusing to give up after defeat is an act of extraordinary courage. It means confronting fear, doubt, and disappointment head on and choosing to move forward regardless. This refusal is not born out of stubbornness or blind optimism, but from a deep understanding that true victory requires persistence. It requires embracing discomfort, pushing through pain, and maintaining focus on long-term goals even when short-term results are discouraging. The battle after defeat also involves rebuilding, not just externally but internally. It requires repairing shattered confidence, healing wounded pride, and strengthening the mind and spirit. This inner work is often the most difficult because it involves facing uncomfortable truths and confronting limitations. However, it is through this process that character is built and resilience is fortified. The strength gained here becomes the foundation upon which future victories are constructed. History and personal stories alike reveal that many great triumphs come only after multiple defeats. Those who achieve greatness rarely do so without experiencing failure. Instead, they use defeat as a catalyst for change and improvement. Each loss teaches new strategies, reveals weaknesses to address, and deepens resolve. This iterative process transforms defeat from a final failure into a necessary phase of success. The real battle after defeat also requires adaptability. It calls for flexibility in approach and the willingness to try new paths when old ones have failed. This adaptability is a sign of strength, not weakness. It demonstrates an openness to growth and an understanding that perseverance is not rigid persistence, but intelligent persistence. It means learning from mistakes, adjusting plans, and continuing the fight with wisdom gained from experience. Moreover, the battle after defeat is not fought alone. Support from others, whether mentors, friends, or communities, can provide the encouragement and resources needed to keep going. Yet, the ultimate responsibility lies within. The decision to stand up again, to face the pain and uncertainty, and to keep moving forward is deeply personal. It is a testament to individual willpower and commitment. True victory is therefore not just about achieving goals, but about who we become in the process. The battle that starts after defeat shapes us into stronger, wiser, and more resilient beings. It teaches patience, humility, and perseverance. It reveals that success is not a straight line but a journey marked by ups and downs, where the greatest triumphs often come from the depths of despair. In this way, defeat is not the enemy of victory but its precursor. It is the harsh teacher that prepares us for the true fight ahead. The real battle is to endure hardship, learn from failure, and refuse to give up until victory is achieved. This battle defines the difference between temporary loss and lasting success, between giving in to defeat and rising above it. It is in this struggle that true victory is born. In the end, it is not the defeat itself that defines us, but how we respond to it. True victory is reserved for those who have the courage to face hardship head on, to rise each time they fall, and to keep moving forward with unwavering determination. The real battle starts after defeat, where resilience is tested, strength is rebuilt, and character is forged. It is through this relentless spirit that we transform setbacks into comebacks and dreams into reality. Remember, the greatest triumphs are born not from avoiding failure, but from embracing the struggle and refusing to give up.